We're back with Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus.
Bernie, one of the biggest issues we hear, and this is from all corners, is that big companies and small companies are just getting crushed by regulation. And so we want to know here if you would be able to start Home Depot in 2016. Would that have been possible for you, sir?
No. And by the way, I'm telling you as a factual, absolutely not. When we started in 1978, 79, Arthur Blank, myself, Ken Langone, as you know, the government was there for us. They really tried to help us get along. In today's environment, it couldn't happen. I'll give you a perfect example. Dodd-Frank. We could not have opened. We were undercapitalized, and I mean undercapitalized. We had $2 million from our investors. We needed a bank line, and the bank line was critical. I couldn't get a bank in Georgia to back us in this thing because it was a new venture, a new idea. We couldn't sell it to anybody. My old bankers in California, think about this, we're in Atlanta, Georgia, California, they agreed to give us $5.5 million line of credit. Now, today, and by the way, we're undercapitalized. Our balance sheet looked terrible, but the banker in California believed in us, believed in Arthur and myself. He had done business with Arthur and myself. He knew we were honest. He knew that we had a great idea. He thought that it was going to be successful. And this bank loaned us money. Under Dodd-Frank, never. It could never have happened. That's number one. Number two, under Dodd-Frank, small banks are closing all over America. They can't, small banks are there to take care of small businesses. Little lines of credit, $500,000, $100,000, in some cases $50,000. Today, with the regulators in every single bank, you can't make those kind of loans. And what's happening is you see they're not making loans. The big banks are arbitraging with the Federal Reserve, and they're making their money by not making loans. And I'm not talking loans to people like Home Depot and General Electric and Boeing. I'm talking to the people that really count out there, that create most of the job. It's not happening. And so Home Depot couldn't have started just on that basis. Now, the other thing is we opened stores all over America. With the regulations today that you have from the EPA, from the Labor Department, the people that opened Home Depot with us, think about this a second. We brought people in, if they were making $70,000 a year, we paid them $50,000, and we said, look, guys, we're opening a new business. If we make it, you're going to make it. We worked, and I'm talking about every single person that worked for us, worked between 50 to 60 hours a week. 50 to 60 hours a week. Today, with the Labor Department, with this overtime rule, and with all of the rules that the Labor Department has come up with, we could never do it. There's no way we could have survived. So here's a Home Depot, which today has 430,000 people. We have employed millions of people. We have created about 10,000 millionaires, people who went to high school, didn't have college degrees, that made lots of money. And I'm telling you, if it was in today's environment, it never would have happened. And you think of those millions of people who have now gone into other businesses.
Ken Langone has joined us on the program and talked about that very point. Bernie, let me ask you one thing about the bank loan, because I think it's fascinating. Was that a regional bank that lent you the $5.5 million, or was that a small bank?
No, it was Security Pacific Bank in Los Angeles.
Right.
And so it could never have happened. First of all, the rules would not let them go across state lines, number one. And number two, if you looked at our balance sheet, we didn't have a balance sheet. Yep. All we had was, a couple of bucks in there and a lot of courage and guys who are willing to break their backs to make something happen, and a great idea, and they bought the great idea. Most industries have started that way. If you look at the carpet business, there was a banker in Dalton, Georgia, that basically started the carpet business. He loaned money to people that had no balance sheet, and they turned out to be the biggest companies in America today in carpeting. A banker who had trust in people, who did it based on what he saw in their eyes.
What would you say?
Today it's the balance sheet.
What would you say to Elizabeth Warren if she was asking the question here and she would say to you, but business took advantage of a lot of things, and today you have low interest rates, and today if you're trying to start a Home Depot, you could go to a private equity firm.
You didn't build it yourself,
You didn't build
Bernie?
it yourself. You know, what would you say to that sort of counterpoint?
I would say, Elizabeth, I don't know what you're smoking, but I would give it up because something's wrong with you.
Yep.
There's a woman that doesn't have a clue, a single clue, on what it takes to run a business. She doesn't have a clue.
Bernie.
She doesn't know what she's talking about. And most of the party, by the way, is in the same mode. They don't have a clue.
Bernie,
I am telling you as a businessman, listen to me, Anthony, as a businessman, a guy who was hired and trained and created a business, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's as simple as that.
Well, I was going to pile on there. So Bernie, let me ask you, because there's a ton of entrepreneurs that watch our show. What would you recommend to them in this business environment? New entrepreneurs, fresh people that have great ideas. How do they navigate this environment?
Well, look, you have two people. They're not the most popular people in the world. I would tell you, Donald Trump was not my first choice, my second, my third, or my fourth. But he's the nominee, and I think that the Republican Party has a history of supporting business and understanding that if they support business, they will create jobs. If they create jobs, they're going to help the middle class and the underclass. And this has not happened in 8 years. You've had 8 years of misery, 8 years where you've seen the minorities killed, you've seen middle-class people go down. So I say, anybody, use your head. For God's sake, just look at the facts. Just look at the underemployed. We have the lowest amount of people in the workforce today, I mean, since going back past Carter. Now, if that doesn't prove the point, you buy this rhetoric that they're giving you. If you can buy that kind of nonsense, I have 3 bridges I'd like to sell to you.
Very big thanks to you, Bernie. Wall Street
Thank you.
Week is going to be right back.